let me tell you something. The heat has brought this on. If you hear some major noises in the background, I think we got a thunderstorm rolling in. You got to figure with all this heat today, I had heat warnings up. We would get some rain. So if you hear that or other noises, we got air conditioners going, and then we got everything else running today on there. Let me just take a swig here. Yeah. But, remember, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, smash on that like. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed and liked on our shows and passed on. And those of you also, that have supported the show, that have donated to the show. It helps us to get, in fact, like I said, we got some new audio equipment we're working with. We're testing it out right now. It'll help us with some of our interviews. It'll also help us on how we record, because we've been having some issues on the recording. If you notice, our audio has been changing tones and stuff like that. And we figured out a way of getting around that, because some of the software we use is not doing good. It's okay, but we could do better. So, we've been covering the Vic Mignogna case for quite some time now, in and out. There are other YouTubers that do a very good job. Yesterday we were talking about that umbrella guy, Tug, and I'll mention him as Tug. We heard that he's gotten threats, from several people in the Kickvic community, and then of course someone decided to damage his property. They've made threats to his family. They've posted pictures of his family online, which I've said that's wrong. But here is the situation. You have a case here that has to go through the courts. Obviously, it's important that, we have this. It's, of course we have that innocent until proven guilty, facts and evidence. We all discuss that. But also, we're allowed to strike back at those who have interfered with our lives by, trying to get us fired from our jobs, from our contracts, that they don't want us doing business with anybody. And if we dare to do business with anyone, they'll contact them and basically tell them that, they say, like they said, they'll call us the P's or the E, the D, the O, some words I can't say on here or I'll get slammed. But recently, back on the 24th, we've been seeing back and forth. We've had the, if you've seen some of the coverage from the Nick Rekieta site, we've seen some of the depositions, which have been very interesting. The Vic deposition, very well presented. The lawyers that were hard on him, all the lawyers were hard on him, and obviously that was going to happen, but he presented himself very good. The Monaco Real, that was, there's a lot of things I could say on that deposition. She tried to present herself well, but there was a lot of questions that I do ask on her deposition, and a lot of things that she said. Then, of course, comes the deposition that hurts their case the most, Ron Toye. I've never seen anyone who said, is that your tweet? And you said, I think so. I don't remember. Come on, Ron. You know what you said. You know exactly what you said. And your lawyers basically told you to try not to remember it. And we know what you said because, you're a guy that basically, like some of the other kickvickers, you can't stay off Twitter. You got to constantly be in everybody's, you got to have your hands in everybody's conversation. And, and that's Ron Toye. And you can see it from Ron Toye's, the way he talks and the way he describes things and the way his beliefs on how people, how he considers people to be, pedos, PDOs, and sexual abuse and stuff like that, and how he considers that in his mind. His mind is just unusual. I'm not certain if we're getting a Jamie Marchi. I don't know if I've heard that situation, if not. But we know now that they filed the TCPAs last week. And, Nick has gone through them, and basically, so of course, obviously, so is Ty Beard, his lawyer, and from what my understanding, and this is, I guess, from the Funamations one, they have put up a motion to strike on some of the evidence and the affidavits that are in there, and basically, some of the affidavits are from people that are Karen Milka, who's the vice president of operations at Funamations. I mean, I need to understand why they had her there. Now, I understand she's an operations manager. And I've worked with operations manager in production houses. And when it comes to situations, mostly it's done through human resources. Human resources is the one that they're in part of the investigation. Operations, the only time they ever involved them if it was something that dealing with the operations. And I was wondering why, why was she giving an affidavit? And a lot of the things that and this is why we have the motion to strike, is a lot of the things that Ms. Mika has said on there is a lot of hearsay. And I watched this, and there are several paragraphs, and you yourself, you can go out there and look this up. You can look it up online. In fact, you can click on from the Bounding into Comics, of course. This is where I get a lot of my news, and I like to read. And they also have a click on for this. It goes right to the site. And basically, when you look at it and you're hearing, it's the same rhetoric. It's like, well, let me put it in this perspective. It's not what Mika said, but think about this for a second. Is how you're hearing on Twitter. Well, my friend of a friend of a friend said that this happened in 2009, 2012, 2017. But that's what's being put here. You're taking tweets and you're taking them as fact. Now, I understand if Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi has come forward and said what they said, and you take that as evidence to the fact because they've come forward, but you haven't spoken to anybody else that have put these tweets. You haven't gone out and investigated if these are legitimate, if the site that this is coming from is legitimate. We know that the Tumblr site has been purged. Last I checked, there's nothing on the Tumblr section where a lot of the evidence was put up on there. Let me refresh, so-called evidence. And when you have someone like this, and then you also have, what's her name? From Sony, Tammy Dembo, who also put some statements, and that basically it's also hearsay. And I always keep saying this, and another YouTuber says this as well. I don't believe X and I don't believe Y. I believe facts and evidence. And when you look at the situation like this, and you say, why are they saying these things as evidence? And basically, if they used this to fire him, they used hearsay. That's like if I walked into any company, pick the name random if someone worked into a company, and says, well, I know he molested this girl back 5 years ago. I know it for a fact. You got a guy that worked for this company that literally sexually abuses women. And then that company takes my statement, uses that, and fires that person. I mean, you don't know where you're getting this information from. You're taking tweets that people have been typing and typing and typing and typing and typing. And, a lot of them are the same tweets. And a lot of them say the same things. It's just like, oh, yeah, I remember back then, but I wasn't certain, all that. And then you have situations where, also on top of that, Monica Rial had put, and this is where it's coming back, that she says, well, I have this witness, that this witness said such and such. And then the witness came forward and had an affidavit himself and said, no, I don't recall it happening that way. And you have others that have brought affidavits forward that have said the same thing. So, when you have a situation like this where, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not one of these Twitter lawyers either. But when you look at this situation and you that all this is hearsay, I have to ask, if, the judge, is he going to allow this to go forward as far as the TCPA? I mean, everything else you're hearing, like, for example, you have the other one that put up testimony from the public relations at Funamations, and he's quoting what he's seen on Anime News Network and Polygon, which that in itself is a problem too, because the original post at Anime News Network were the pictures in there, a lot of them were false, because basically they were rebutted by the people, by the people who were in the pictures themselves, and then they're still putting out the tweets and social media posts and stuff like that. And this is not the only case that this is happening. This is happening in a lot of places, and I'm hearing, you're hearing this in a lot of news right now, that, people are being deposed because of what is said on Twitter or Facebook, which that's basically, it's not correct. There's a point where you have to, if someone is on Twitter making an accusation, they need to come forward. They can't stay in the shadows. If you're going to sit there and just type away on Twitter, I understand. If it's true, you got to come forward. But if it isn't, there are going to be ramifications from this. From what I look and understand about this, in my opinion, I think now, before I said the Funamation TCPA, I thought at first was going to be the one that's going to be the hardest to beat. And now looking at this and the evidence that they posted forward, I think it has changed. I think it's really, truly has changed the parameters. And this is the same thing with the Monica Rial Rontoya. 100%. I'm pretty much about almost 100% that the Monica Rial Rontoya TCPA, that's going to be eliminated. The Jamie Marchi, that could go either way. The Funamations, at one point I was putting toward that the Funamations was going to get the TCPA. Now it's more facing that I think it's not going to fly with this judge. Then again, I could be wrong. I may be wrong about this on there. But, you can comment below and tell me how you feel of the whole situation. And I know some people get a little angry about this because, people are put into the focus that, when someone gives a sexual allegation, we must believe it. But like I've done in many shows before, and this is not the first time, we've heard many allegations. We've heard recently with, Chris Hardwick. We've gone through this. Jeffrey Rush is another one we've gone through this as well. And there are various others. And people that are not even celebrities. We had that case where there were two men accused, I forgot what college it was, by a woman of rape. And it turned out that she totally lied because she was in love with another guy and she wanted to be with that guy. So she made up a rape charge against the two men, and they're trying to put their lives together, and that's something that's not going to be easy to put their lives back together. And you can go back all the way back, back in the, what was it, the 80s, the Tawana Brawley case. I mean, that's still, that case hasn't even still been paid off. there are people like Tawana Brawley that was charged basically with defaming somebody. And basically she was found guilty, and she has to pay back a restitution. And she still hasn't paid it off yet. And the same thing with Al Sharpton. I don't know if Al Sharpton has paid it off completely. He might have already. But if you go back to that case, take a look at that case. It's just a shame. And I discussed one all the way back to even long before Twitter and stuff like that. An actor named Fatty Arbuckle, who was one of the most highest paid actors at the time period, and basically he was charged in murdering somebody and assaulting and raping the person. But what you find out down the line is that the person was ill, had their liver or kidneys imploded, because at that time, the alcohol poisoning and stuff like that. And it was just basically a misconception that people thought, and the media at that time period ran with it. And basically, it permanently harmed his career. His career was done. He was what they called back then box office poison. And it's a shame, and you don't recover from a lot of this stuff. And looking back at what's going on with this, I mean, what we're hearing is a lot of hearsay, but no true evidence to the fact. We have some people saying things that basically had happened to them, and they say that they have witnesses and stuff like that, but they didn't go to the police. They didn't file any reports with the conventions, the hotels, anything of that nature. And, they was like, well, I was afraid of him. I said, afraid of what? He was a regular voice actor like you. He was just a regular voice actor. It's not like he was Will Smith or any of these other big actors. You have to remember, most of these people, that the voice actors, unless you're like an actor have done movies and stuff like that, and then you're doing, like Mark Hamill or stuff like that. Most of these other guys, they just throw in their voices. I mean, some of them do become popular at the conventions. That happens. But when you try to convince somebody that says, well, yeah, he's this big-time actor, he's powerful and stuff like that. No, he's just a voice actor who does a very good job. He has a following, and people do follow some of the voice actors. Of course, Monica Rial gets hers. And so does Jamie Marchi. But lately, I don't think they're not getting as much as they did before. So is the judge going to strike this? I think he is. Like I said, I may be wrong. He could strike this, and I think when this happens, it's going to change the whole parameter. I think the TCPA will be gone after this. And if I was, heard that thunder. If basically without the TCPA, I would say Funamations, pull out that checkbook, because I don't think anything else is gonna fly. Again, like I said, I'm not a legal guy, but the way this is going, and the way that I'm seeing and what people are saying is that Funamations is on the hook, because they should have reeled in their people. No matter they're independent contractors, they're still working for you. And if they're saying, hey, we work for Funamations with this and that on there, and they're saying it. So you got to reel them in, whether they're your contractor or not, because they're putting your name out there. They've said your name. Or could it be you're a part of this Funamations and Sony knows nothing of it? Or Sony's part of it, vice versa. Or all parties on there. Only a judge can finalize this and adjudicate properly. So comment below. Tell me how you feel about this. I would recommend checking out Nick Rekieta's his site on YouTube if you want more information on this, detailed information. I know guys like Yellowfash, that Umbrella Guy, a couple others, they've given some of their on there. I just want to give my 2 cents in on this. Not major detail. I don't want to go ins and out. Everybody else has done it. I just putting in my 2 cents of coverage on this because, stuff like this it's a tragedy. It's a travesty of justice when you see people put this into play and try to get someone out. Is that we need the courts to finally put their foot down and say no more. If this comes out the way I think it's going to come out, this could set a precedent for any other case that comes out that people start suing Twitter for situations like that they lost their job because of what somebody said on Twitter. It's a dangerous situation, but I think it needs to be thrown into play because, you get fired for some anonymous person saying something online. You don't even know if you ever met them, if they ever met you. Who knows, if those pictures on there. From one person that they said, well, I was in the school with him, this, then he's that. And the school has come out and said they would never even hear. So when you have that kind of situation going on. So comment. Don't forget we're on Minds, Gab.com. Hit that subscription button. Hit that like button. Also, pass this on to, if you like the programming, pass this on to friends, family, co-workers, your enemies also. But, it's important we get this message out because it's very important because, you already see what's happening, that they're trying to shut the message down. They're attacking that Umbrella Guy. They're doxing him. They're attacking his family, his child. It's shocking what's been going on with this completely. And I hope this gets remedy in a timely fashion. Just to put things back into place. So until tomorrow. Expect rain tomorrow too, so we're going to try to tape this earlier. Basically, don't forget we're also on BitChute. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, with some more news. We'll see what's going on. This week has been a little light on things. I think it's been about an average so far on that, but you never know. Tuesday nights to Wednesday tend to get a little exciting. We never know what'll end up, especially with this case. We never know what's going to come up next. We are expecting some surprises that are coming up. Nick has been putting that out, that there's some surprises coming. Let's see what happens. So, hang in there. Stay hydrated, please. If you're going to go out there, if not, stay home. Binge some stuff. Binge The Expanse. Binge Mindhunters. I said that earlier with Mindhunters. Binge it out. Got plenty of hours. And also The Boys on Amazon. Another great show on there. We're going to discuss that down the line a little bit on that show with my thoughts on that. So, until tomorrow, have yourself a good evening. Hang in there. Stay cool. Stay hydrated. Subscribe, like, support, and share.